Hello everyone. Today we are having Dr. Mitali Kar with us. She is working as a senior neuroconsultant at the Care Group of Hospitals. And today ma'am will be guiding us with a very important topic, that is dementia. So welcome ma'am.
Yes. Everybody.
Ma'am, today we would like to know from you, like what exactly is dementia all about?
First of all, I would like to congratulate your healthcare services for having taken up such a sensitive topic, because it's something which is very less spoken about and even lesser known about. So, if we have to understand what dementia basically means, it's a general word. It's just a normal English word. Okay, its origin is from the Latin, where D means out, and ment means mind. So anybody who was out of mind used to be called as demented in those years.
Okay.
Later on, as the science grew, the neuroscience grew, this term came into the medical field, and the patients who were suffering from memory loss or who were behaving like people out of their mind, to be very specific, they were called as maybe having a disease called dementia. So that is how the word has flown into the medical community. And the disease has its origin from the memory loss as being the main symptom.
Okay, so can we just understand at length, like what exactly happens to a person when he or she is referred to as a patient being dementic?
So the thing is, dementia as a diagnosis comes very late usually in people's life, only when they meet a neurologist and then they come to know that this patient is suffering from dementia. That can be caught with the help of lot of signs and symptoms in the patients. If we have to discuss how do we label a patient of dementia, then it's usually when they come with certain symptoms like early symptoms of memory fogging, memory loss, difficulty in learning new things. But these are the early signs. Usually when we see patients, they are wheeled in a very late stage, because family often fails to recognize early signs of dementia. But the early signs, if we have to say, are usually having memory issues in doing the daily activities. Like suppose there is a housewife. She is involved in cooking. She will start having confusion in the regularly items he used to cook. She may have difficulty in adapting new cooking recipes. And like a person is working, completely forgetting what work they have to do, what sequence of work was required, forgetting the car keys. When it starts getting repeated, then these are the early symptoms of this thing. But later on, it can progress to very difficult to understand things like patients getting confused between kitchen and bathroom in their own house, urinating at odd places in the drawing room, going to the balcony thinking that it is the exit outside. So these can be also symptoms, and they can also start having memory issues in the terms of calculation. Suppose they are dealing with money and they have to take, they buy something, they often end up giving the money 2 times, or often getting the correct change, and they are often very easily duped by people because they get confused and people can make out that. They can have visual spatial issues also. Like suppose they're driving, they will get confused between left and right, and they get confused. So these kind of symptoms start in early, which has to be picked up by the patient, staying with the patient rather than the patient himself.
Okay, so ma'am, is it basically a normal part of aging, or is dementia specifically, a disease process, or rather a disorder?
No, normal aging does not include dementia. Be very clear about it. Normal aging is a healthy thing. We should age. We should age gracefully, isn't it? So aging is not a disease. Aging is a normal thing. We all have taken birth. We will pass through the journey of life. We will age and we will be going away. So that is normal aging. Dementia is definitely a disease and not part of normal aging. If that's why this awareness is very important. Why? Because if people are not aware, often you must have seen Lekha that people in families are वो age हो गया है इसीलिए ऐसे हो रहा है, एज हो गया इसीलिए भूल रहे हैं, एज हो गया अभी इसीलिए उनको पैसा मत दो, ये मत करो, don't let them go out alone. So these are the things we often
Right.
associate with aging only, but it's not true.
So normally we have a quote in Hindi saying "Satya gaya."
Satyage, Sarehot. Yeah, that's what that
Does this actually mean like any person or any usual person can get this disorder of dementia?
anybody can get dementia. Anybody. So there are some risk factors which make you more prone to get dementia. So that is where we can work. That is where we can work and make it preventable. But anybody is prone to diseases in this
So ma'am,
world.
is it genetic?
Yeah, in some families it can run. Especially there are a lot of scientific evidence now available that there are genes which transmit this disease. So if you have a family member who was diagnosed with dementia, especially Alzheimer's dementia, then you must be a little more aware, because there is also one important thing associated, that the age at which your grandparents, if it is in the family, were diagnosed as dementia, that will come earlier in the next generation and earlier in the next one. So that's why little being aware of your family lineage is also important.
Okay. So ma'am, is there any specific age group like which will be hit by this disorder, or maybe any warning signs which we can keep in mind so that we can prevent?
Yes. So 2-3 questions you clubbed
Yeah,
together.
I have clumped together 2 questions because I'm most curious to know about this disease actually.
That's really good, because your curiosity will drive lot of people's anxiety away. So the thing is that yes, it can happen at any age group. It can happen in young also. But the most common age which is usually affected is more than 65 onwards.
Okay.
So, but it can affect a 30-year-old as well. Okay. The second part of the question was that is it preventable? There are, for that we have to understand that dementia is an umbrella term. Okay. Inside that dementia category, there are a lot of subtypes of dementia. So there are, easy to understand if we classify into 2 parts, like reversible causes and irreversible causes. So reversible causes is something we can have a good hold on. Why? Because for reversible causes like thyroid diseases, B12 deficiencies, infections, these can actually be quite a reversible cause of dementias. But in case of irreversible causes such as neurodegenerative changes, post-traumatic, post-stroke dementias, they are usually those kind of dementias which tend to progress with time. So in neurodegenerative category, the Alzheimer's leads the whole category. So it's 70% of patients are usually Alzheimer's in that irreversible category of dementia. So now the fourth part of your question was like, is it preventable? So definitely the reversible causes are, we have to work on it so that it is preventable. There is also one category of dementia called vascular dementia, in which the lifestyle plays a lot of role in the progress of the disease. So in those cases, definitely there is a chance of prevention with the help of lifestyle modifications.
Ma'am, you just spoke about vascular dementia. So you mean to say there are categories of dementia?
Yes, dementia is an umbrella term.
Okay. So can we know like what are basically the types
So
of
the
dementia?
irreversible causes like neurodegenerative, it will have Alzheimer's, it will have frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, post-stroke dementias. There can be traumatic brain injury related dementias also, Parkinson's related dementia. So there are a lot of
Okay. Ma'am, then the symptoms, do they vary from type to type?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
mostly common?
Yeah, they can vary from type to type, and they vary mostly in the early stages only. At the end point, it is usually at the end of tunnel when we are seeing a demented patient after a very long time of slipping into the disease. Most of them will look similar. But when there is a starting point, we can actually differentiate based on the signs and symptoms, based on the history of the patient, and also with the help of neuroimaging, MRI and other things are there, CSF study. These are some tests which we run on these patients to differentiate the type of dementia they are coming with.
Then, ma'am, you mean to say there are very specific tests for dementias as well?
Yes. We can. First and foremost is history and neuropsychological evaluation by the neurologist. Second line comes the imaging, and CSF studies are there to know whether what kind of dementia the person is suffering from. Why? Because it helps not only prognosticating the life of the patient, but also the prognosticating to the caregiver about the future of the patient and the family in general.
Ma'am, as I mentioned in the beginning, like this is a very important topic, but many of us, we do not give much of importance to this. Like, as I have been saying, people feel that as they age, maybe they'll get dementia. It's completely normal. But now with this podcast, I'm sure many people will come to understand that this is not a simple disorder and we must not ignore it, right?
Yes.
So, ma'am, I would request you to help us with some very important warning signs, which, the family members of a patient or maybe any individual for that matter, we can understand, or we can even, come to know by ourselves also that maybe we are going through something which is not normal.
Yeah.
So what are the early signs
Early
or
signs
warning signs?
Yeah, early signs will be like if you are having too much of mental fogging, if you are having lot of behavioral changes in your near or dear ones, mood changes, it has started happening recently. There is some personality changes which is happening, or they were doing some regular activities in which they are having problem. The regular normal activities which they were doing. For example, suppose a person was generally not a very sweet lover. Suddenly he becomes an extreme sweet lover. He starts eating lot of sweets, and then he becomes like very kind of obsessive about certain things. These can be really early signs. They can also have sleep disturbances in the early on of the disease, and apart from that, I was telling, that visual spatial issues, like getting confused inside the regular house they were staying. They get confused inside which is the kitchen, which is the bathroom, and then they misplace things quite often. They are taking the clothes and keeping it in the fridge, or the fridge items inside the almirah, and then these can be the early signs also. But these have to be picked. It should not be just thought that कि अरे गलती से हो गया, सठिया गया है, that's what you say.
Exactly.
So it's not that. No normal person will do like that. So it has to be dealt. And there are certain kind of dreams which if the person is reporting that he is having certain recurrent dreams and he is enacting those dreams, then also we must be very alert that there is a possibility that he is sinking into some kind of neurodegenerative condition. Seizures can be an early sign also. In some patients, they can have seizures also. So all these things we must keep in mind, and especially we must in elderly people, when they're dealing with the monetary things, calculation. Otherwise we don't do tables in our regular life. We do calculation only when we are buying something, especially when we are changing currency. If you observe that for all this observation, what is paramount? It is paramount that we accompany our elderly ones. Why we miss these early signs? That we don't stay with them, we don't observe them. So that is why we tend to miss these early signs, and then we get them to doctors when it's quite little more advanced already. So that's what I believe that we must give attention to.
Ma'am, in your span of career, obviously, you know very well that mostly in India, which we have seen, it is a normal psychology with people that any kind of mental illness or maybe something related to your mind is not given so much of importance, right? Because people think that maybe you're just hallucinating or maybe you're acting too much. This is just simple thing. You are in a stress. And that's maybe these things are happening. You have to take rest. These are the common terms. Because whatever things you said right now, I'm giving you my personal experience. Even I sometimes do these things. But now thinking, maybe this might be my future as well. We never know. So, ma'am, what is the best time if these things are happening? When exactly we should be approaching a neurologist for this first thing? And secondly, like, you have been having a very long career by now. How often have you seen patients approaching you in a very early stage? Or when do they reach you, basically?
Actually, I have seen two categories of patient. One is that the people who reach very late. Most of them, younger people accompanying the elderly patients reaching very late, where even the diagnosis becomes a challenge because they have advanced so much in biologically and in symptom profile as well, that the scoring which we do for knowing the dementia is already very low. So differentiation also becomes an issue in those cases. And there is a new category of patients which is surprisingly the new generation.
Okay, Gen Z?
Yeah, they are coming up and they will be just walking in alone and doctor, I'm thinking that I'm having dementia, and this I read in the Google, and this one I'm forgetting my keys, and I'm these kind of patients. A sudden there is a overly knowledgeable. Then what happens is, in these patients it is usually the multitasking and lack of attention which is causing the memory disturbance. It's not exactly the dementia which is setting in. There is, though the possibility stays in the long run. What happens? These people are having a very erratic lifestyle, a very bad sleep-wake cycle, and all these things affect your memory potentiation. The place where the memory is formed and stored, they will get affected if you are not sleeping well, if you are happy, if you are a smoker, if you are having addictions of alcohol or recreational drugs.
So you mean to say, ma'am, the lifestyle has a major impact on this?
Yes. So these younger generation, then they fail in their executive tasks, and then they start thinking that is it possible that the first thing for these people is not to worry, but to start a change in their lifestyle, and obviously checking up their mental well-being and general health is a very good thing, which is a welcome thing. It's a good change in our society, which we never did. But this is a very good thing that they at least come up and ask questions. And I always welcome people to ask questions, because questions clarify a lot of doubts. And so that's why it's always good that you read Google or whatever and come, but don't panic in that. And don't subject yourself to wrong places so that you are misguided in the hope of getting cured. Taking abnormal nutrients, supplements, and all those things. Often people also land up doing that in trying to. Taking a proper scientific guidance is correct, but at least do not panic and do not approach non-scientific zones to get rid of the symptoms. Work on your attention span, because by multitasking, what I mean, if a project is given to somebody, some executive, they are not able to read one full page without distraction. So obviously that gets affected. Somebody is calling, mobile is ringing, then one message is coming, then you're checking your Insta, how many likes and all those things. So these distractions will actually impair your memory formation. So that is, if it is affecting you, that kind of lifestyle, if you are living, if it is affecting you, then please work on it first rather than getting very panic about it.
As I was asking you, like, I just want to learn from you. Is dementia reversible?
Yeah, as we were discussing, it's a very important thing, because everybody wants to get all disease reversed. So reversible dementias are a reality. Yes, some dementias are reversible, like the ones caused by endocrine diseases such as hypothyroid or hyperthyroidism, B12 deficiency. These are very potentially reversible dementias. And there is a definite category of irreversible dementia, as we have discussed. In those cases, even though it is not reversible, but that can be slowed. We can put not exactly a break on the disease process, but we can slow it down.
Okay. So, ma'am, I actually want to know one more thing. Like, I'm sure many of our audience would not be aware of the same as well. I want to like explain to them that there is a bit of difference between what dementia and Alzheimer's is.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So can you please highlight on that?
Yeah, Alzheimer's is a subcategory of dementia. Okay, so dementia is an umbrella. If you have to understand, within that umbrella, all other smaller category subtypes are there. Dementia, we can divide it into reversible and irreversible. Irreversible are majorly neurodegenerative conditions, in which one of them is Alzheimer's dementia, which is the most common one. 70%, 60 to 70% are Alzheimer's. So one category is Alzheimer's. Others are like vascular, frontotemporal dementia, prion disease-related dementia. These are the other categories.
Ma'am, as we have discussed till now, what exactly we have known is this is basically a common disorder these days, dementia, right? So, ma'am, how can we prevent this then? And I would also like to know from you, like if a person is completely normal, means we are not showing any such symptoms as such, then are there any kind of lifestyle changes which we can adapt so as to prevent the onset of this disorder?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, yes. The first part is like the statistics, which is now in our phase. Now, recent a study for Indian population worldwide, so it's even more. In India, it is estimated that by 2050, around 14.3 to 15 million, it's million people are going to be hitting dementia. That's the numbers. Okay. So when we talk numbers, and it's a huge number.
Yes, of course.
That is the projected number as per the statistics. So you can imagine the burden on the society which is going to come, as like that by that time we have to be ready to support such people, in not only in terms of good medical centers, but also in terms of good rehabilitation centers where these people can actually live a life of dignity. So that is the important thing in terms of statistics. And to the second part, that whether it is a reversible condition or what can be done to prevent it for the people who are now in their 40s, 50s or 60s. Yes, definitely. Every day, if we make a change for our body, is going to show in our body in some form or the other. So first best thing is that you have a very good regular sleep cycle. That's a very important thing, because for memory potentiation, memory formation, and for even deleting unwanted information, all restorative and repair function happens during the sleep. There is a very important system called glymphatic system, which is highly active during sleep, which removes toxins from our brain, and it also helps in building memory and keeping the memory inside the brain. So sleeping in a good pattern, having a good sleep-wake cycle is very important. Apart from that, having good habits in terms of good food, like which is rich in very vitamin C, rich in very good amount of antioxidants is very important, because we know from the pathophysiology that dementia usually happens because of oxidative stress inside the neurons. So this can be prevented with the help of antioxidants. So food which is rich in antioxidants, vitamin C, green leafy vegetables, fruits, berries, vitamin C, guava, which is very rich in vitamin C. It's a common man's fruit. You don't have to be taking blueberries, strawberries to have rich vitamin C. Lemons, amla, which is important Indian berry. So we must take all these things. And turmeric, which is a regular Indian ingredient. Turmeric has proven to be very beneficial for people in prevention of dementia. So these kind of food should be included, good amount of water intake. And if you are a diabetic or a hypertensive, keeping that in control with the help of a regular checkup and keeping your HbA1c levels in control, less than at least 7 or 6.5 should be the target, and keeping your blood pressure in control by taking medication, physician consultation, that has to be your to-go thing. And apart from that, having physical exercise. Right. Exercise at least 30 minutes in 4 to 5 times a week is going to be helpful, not only for your physical stamina and body, but for the brain health as well. So exercise is highly recommended. These are certain things, and for younger generation, quitting smoking and not starting smoking is going to be really helpful, because smoking, as per statistics, can be 40% linked to Alzheimer's. Can you imagine the number? Non-smoker and smoker. Smoker is 40% at higher risk of getting a dementia than a non-smoker. It's a huge number. Why should you adopt this kind of activity which is not going to help you? Why not better have a routine of jogging, or gymming, or having a recreation in terms of taking up a sport, rather than having these kind of habits? So smoking, it also causes a shrinkage in the brain size. So we often see people who are chain smokers, they keep that meeting se pehle I have to take a cigarette ka puff, because it will help my brain, and I'll perform better in the meeting. And it's a reverse thing, because you have become dependent on the smoking addictive potential. It is not letting your brain function normally, so you need it to perform, which is a very paralyzing thing for the person, isn't it? So having such habits in your pocket is not a good thing, and I think it should be let go as early as possible. Apart from that, taking alcohol in very high quantity can be very bad, and it can actually cause alcohol related dementias as well. So this, we have to be aware of these things. And recreational drugs are a big no-no, like cocaine and all those things. They are also a big no-no. They should not be taken. So these are some things, if we take give importance in our daily life, then I think we can prevent dementia. Regular checkups in terms of knowing your thyroid status, your B12 status, cholesterol status is going to be helpful in long run anyhow.
And thank you so much for this entire information. Last but not the least, I would like to learn from you, like, how do we associate dementia with a specialized neuro-rehabilitative care?
Yeah, see, what happens is dementia is a progressive disease if it's an irreversible category of neurodegenerative dementia. So what happens is at some point of the time, they often get dependent on the caregiver. And at that point, they often come in a bedbound state. But that is not the time when we must act. We must act before that. Why? Because a rehabilitative program can help them regain their confidence. It will give them agility in the form of physical activity. These routines they can put up in their regular life, going for a regular physio, stretching, and then having balance training, because in later stages of dementia, they often have confusion and balance related issues as well. So they often trip and fall also. It's so having a regular physio program can decrease their falls. And definitely if you have a fall and break your bone, how much it's going to be painful, not only for the patient but the family, is understandable. So prevention of falls, it has these all things have to be incorporated through a proper comprehensive neuro rehab program, so that they are engaged in physical activity, balance training, they get their agility back, they get their confidence back. And moreover, in home, usually we have one or two people who are elderly. And when they get into a collaborative neuro rehab program, they get friends, they get peers of the similar age group. They also get tricks and nuances how to navigate through this last stage of lives. So I think a comprehensive rehab program should be a great thing for these people. And in later stages, when they become bedbound, when they need services for hygiene, for feeding, and that time also end of life care can be a good thing with for people, so that they can have a life of dignity with them in the later stages when they are bedbound or nobody is there to take care. So these things should be the important thing. Apart from that, I would like to add something, that at home also, whenever they come for physio rehab programs, we you should also train them how they should be at home, like removing rugs, putting handrails in toilets, so that they have little muscle strength is also low. So putting handrails so that they can get up easily, using walkers, using sticks. These are some things which has to be included in physio advice also for them, so that that can prevent falls in them in long run.
Ma'am, if I can put your entire a discussion in a nutshell, like what we have learned is in dementia, obviously the cognitive skills, the motor skills of a person are impaired, especially in the later stages, right? And a physio rehabilitation is obviously very helpful in that
Yes,
case,
yes.
as you mentioned. But there are patients, there are very many of our patients actually who do not have access to a proper physiotherapy center, or maybe such specialized facilities, or maybe they are in remote areas. So can any kind of help reach out to them, or maybe we create any kind of awareness for these people, so that at least the kind of dignified life which we talked for these kind of people, can they have an access to that?
Yeah, that is something, a big area of matlab, like something where something has to be done. I think bigger centers like yours, I think they should take up some project for rural areas. I guess because they first thing is they get neglected because of lack of knowledge among their own people. They are not knowing that my Ajja, my Ai, my Jeje Papa is suffering from this, or even parents are suffering. They don't know that. They often think that it's a aging process. He chal raha hai shayad. So that knowledge has to reach. Proper diagnosis should happen, and I think in government level also some mobile units where doctors or physiotherapists can go and see the patients in ground level in rural area can be a very welcome move, I guess, because I can understand there is not an easy thing to reach a city and get your diagnosis done in a very early stage. This is a practical problem in our country. But then we have to together come up with solutions with young minds like your center being taking a step forward and getting some rural services also, I guess.
Then that certainly would be helpful.
Yes, yeah.
So, ma'am, concluding the discussion what we had, I would like to know from you, rather, I would request you to give a special message to all our audience and all the people ailing out there who would like to know more about dementia and how to, prevent this disease and all.
First thing is, let us understand and know this, that dementia is real. It is something which is going to affect any one of us. So let us first be aware of it. And when we are aware, we are able to recognize these signs and symptoms in our nearer dear ones. Let us seek for proper scientific help so that we are guided in the right direction. And for the younger generation, and also people who are scared that they may hit dementia because they are having a family member who had such a disease, in those people, I would request ki at least immediately start a lifestyle modification and work on it, so that you are getting the risk of dementia lesser and lesser by day by increasing your better lifestyle modifications which we discussed in length. Apart from that, I would also urge for private and public-private partnerships to build up centers where a collaborative neuro rehabilitation is having a vision and is ready to take care of people who are going to land up in dementia very soon, because the population is increasing, elderly population is increasing, anybody can hit dementia. At least there should be a good place where we can have a life of dignity and help people to have a dementia, even if they're affected with dementia, to have a life where they can get back their motor skills, sensory skills and cognitive skills, and live a life of dignity and confidence till their end.
And thank you so much for giving us your precious time. We are really thankful, the entire 2050 healthcare team thanks you for enlightening us on this alarming topic. So I'm sure my audience out here would certainly have got a great deal of idea about what this disorder is all about and how we can prevent it. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.